How do our most senior leaders feel about the direction and trajectory of our industry? What's their outlook on the future state of wholesaling, and, based on their considerable experiences, what lessons would they help us all learn? That's what we want to find out in this special series of episodes we're calling Lessons from Leaders. Welcome to the only podcast on the planet dedicated to exploring the art, science, and lifestyle of wholesalers and their leaders. This is the new Wholesaler Masterminds radio show. I'm your host, the founder of Wholesaler Masterminds, Rob Shore. Can I ask you a question about the scheduling company that you use if you use a scheduling company? What is their commitment to the metrics? You know, you as a wholesaler, you have a commitment to the metrics. You know that you need to hit a certain number of appointments. If you're an internal partner, you need to make sure that you have a certain number of contacts. What is the commitment to metrics of your scheduling company? What is the commitment to relationship management of your scheduling company? How often does your scheduling company meet and train and oversee and coach their employees or their contractors? We want you to know that Wholesaler Mastermind Schedulers, we have a commitment to all of that and more, which is why, thankfully, we're entering our 5th year of service to you, the wholesaling community. If we can assist you with scheduling services, and we'd very much like to, please let us know at WMM Schedulers, WMMschedulers.com. Get a hold of Sarah, schedule an appointment, and learn more about what we can do for you. Wholesaler Mastermind Schedulers, a unique breed of scheduling solutions. Wholesalers, welcome back to the new Wholesaler Masterminds radio show and our series we're doing on lessons from leaders. And, you know, the shows that we've been doing heretofore have certainly had a asset management bent to them. And I thought it was important, certainly, that we bring the insurance community into discussion, particularly the sale of annuity products predominantly into the discussion. And I found a perfect individual to have that discussion with because his firm is going through some massive growth. And if anyone is able to see what's going on in terms of the current state of wholesaling and render his opinions on the future outlook, it would be him. And that him is Chad Mueller. And he's been in the financial services industry for 17 years. He's the head of annuity sales for CUNA Mutual Group. And he leads the wholesaling teams for the distribution of individual life and annuity products for all channels. He brings a wealth of knowledge focused on retirement and retirement planning. He's also a regular speaker on the topics of retirement planning, Social Security and Medicare basics, and estate planning. And he was also in personal production for the first half of his career, wholesaling and leading and building wholesaling teams for the last 9. So he's carried the bag, and now he's building an amazing team. What a better person to talk to. Chad Mueller, welcome to the new Wholesaler Masterminds radio show.
Hey, thank you, Rob. Happy to be here. Humbled to be asked to be as a guest. I'm an avid listener to every podcast, as you know. I think you move the industry forward as well as anybody. So I'm thankful that you asked me to join the call today.
Well, you are generous with your words, sir. So tell me about what's going on with this expansion, because you know it does set a good stage. And what I like about having you on is the notion that here we have a senior leader that is in the weeds enough and has carried the bag for long enough to not be too high in the ivory tower, but at the same time is strategically immersed enough in a whole growth plan to really understand the bigger picture. So just in a nutshell, I mean, you and I met a number of years ago, and you know we could count the number of wholesalers on a hand, and now you have grown substantially. So just give us a quick thumbnail of what the organization looks like today versus what it looked like, say, 3 years ago.
Yeah. So we just think it's just a tremendous time to be growing distribution. We think that the market's right. There's more talent on the street today than I've ever seen. We just think that there's just a tremendous opportunity in front of us. So we're going after it and we're seizing it. Our wholesaling has increased dramatically over the last few years. We, as you had mentioned, I cover 2 distinct channels. We have a proprietary channel. We own our own distribution, our broker-dealer, and then we have third-party distribution. So we've grown from having 4 external wholesalers to now having 18 external wholesalers, and we'll probably add in another half dozen or so over the next year. We've increased our national accounts team. We've increased internal wholesalers. We've increased leadership for wholesalers. So it's been a fun ride over the last few years, and we just think that there's just such a tremendous opportunity right now. So we're working to get after that.
So as a backdrop to that, then, the next question might just answer itself, but I'm sure it doesn't come without some discussion around it. So are you bullish or bearish on wholesaling?
I'm extremely bullish on wholesaling. I mean, throughout my career, I couldn't think of a better time for us to be increasing at least our footprint. You know, a couple of years ago, as we were in the midst of going through this DOL exercise that we had gone through, I stood up in front of our group and I said, we really needed to have this merry-go-round slow down, or we might not have been able to jump on. So we just think that it's a tremendous time for us to grow as an organization, but it's just a tremendous time for our industry. As I had mentioned, extremely bullish on wholesaling. Financial advisors need great wholesaling to continue. That's what helps them grow their practices. You know, most of the great financial advisors I've worked with have acknowledged that they don't really manage money. They manage clients' emotions and their clients' expectations. So financial advisors need to have these rock-solid product partners, and they need to have the business-building resources that only quality wholesaling can provide. Now, this is still a relationship business. There's no doubt about it. But making a connection with a financial advisor is still the single most important driver of business activity. I believe this. So having a rock-solid relationship, making a connection with an advisor, and getting to the point of being able to ask for the business is the key driver to increase business activities. You know, wholesalers just need to be smart enough to then be vulnerable enough to be coachable, to know that their relationships are going to evolve. Advisors' needs are going to evolve, so they too need to evolve in the future. But there's no doubt that the need for this profession is still as strong as ever.
So when you look out 5 years, how do you think our industry changes?
You know, this is a great question. As you had mentioned earlier, we're going through a significant growth stage right now. So this is a question I ask many of the people that I interview and talk to and try to learn from. You know, change is inevitable. Evolution, it's inevitable. How we wholesaled 5 years ago, how we wholesaled yesterday is not going to be relevant tomorrow. I really believe that there's two distinct items that are going to change in the future. First off, just the coverage model of how we wholesale. And then how the FAA's expectations, just what is expected of wholesalers in the future. So first off, the coverage model. The role of the internal and the external will continue to evolve. They're going to have to use technology better. They're going to have to create a better presence in their absence, which you talk about a lot. It's just going to be so vital to make sure that these territories are successful. You know, the days of steak dinners and 4.5-hour golf events are numbered. Now, again, don't take this as that it's not any less of a relationship business because it still very much is. But I think one item that people get confused about when they talk about this being a relationship business is they think that always means you have to be knees to knees, toes to toes with an advisor. That's not always true. Having a relationship means that you make a connection with the advisor. And the way that advisors want to be connected with and interacted with in the future is going to be different than what it is today. So I believe that, you know, the traditional face-to-face, external RVP type of wholesaler is going to need to embrace more virtual wholesaling activities if they want to be relevant, if they want to continue to be top of mind. How they interact with advisors has to change. FAs are just busier today than they've ever been before, and great wholesalers of tomorrow are just going to have to find ways to be present even when they cannot be present. They have to stay top of mind if they expect their products to get used.
So one is the coverage model and using better technology and being willing. And by the way, the willingness of the wholesaler to operate in a more virtual capacity as necessary is important, and so is the firm allowing them to do it. Because, you know, we both know that there are those firms out there that are sticking to some old school type of metrics, like, you know, the knee-to-knee, belly-to-belly, toe-to-toe appointment you speak of is the only thing that counts. But I know in your firm, it's really, you know, what sort of contact is it? Is it a quality contact? Did it move the sales process forward? Those are the things that count. But I also want to touch on this notion of FA expectations, because you mentioned that as being a key change opportunity over the next 5 years. How do you think FA expectations are morphing? What do you think is changing in their expectations?
Well, I don't think this is any different than some of the other guests that you've had. What advisors are expecting from wholesalers is going to be a higher standard in the future than it is today, and probably least of which is going to be needing to have more product. Mm-hmm. Advisors don't need more product. They need more help building their business. And for all the wholesalers that are out there listening, one thing you need to know is that advisors already understand that your product is good. It's saleable. It works. If it didn't work, your company wouldn't be in business. We are in an ultra-competitive industry. So again, if your product wasn't saleable, if it didn't have a story, it wouldn't be around. But advisors need partnerships, not more products. And if you truly want to add value, you have to think about what comprises an FA's time. What is their business? What can you help them with to make their lives easier? Help the advisor, help more people, and you're going to win the business. So there's three things we talk about a lot, three pieces that I believe wholesalers can really help with. The first one is prospecting. Mm-hmm. Can you help an FA get in front of more of the right people? Do you offer the seminars? Do you offer referral trainings? Can you offer up ideas to use LinkedIn or social media to help with marketing campaigns? Do you have other ideas to help them get in front of the right people? Can you help them work their book better? Can you help them get a larger wallet share of the clients? Do you work with your national accounts team to get screenshots of the broker-dealer platforms that the advisors are using? Do you know what CRM they're using? Are you able to help them sort and segment their book of business to help them expand that wallet share? If you help them become better planners, if you help them grow their business, you're going to get your piece of that business. You're going to get your share of the pie. And then the last one, and maybe the most important, but what tools and assistance can you help the advisor with around client experience, their client experience? Because advisors have to understand they're not competing against other financial advisors' products. They're competing against other financial advisors' experiences that they provide. Yep. So, think about, how does that office look and feel? How are those FA's clients treated and greeted when they come in? Is there an assistant? How long are they sitting in the lobby? Behavioral finance, I think, is great, and that's becoming more popular. Is, how does the FA break the ice? How do they make a connection with their clients? How do they, ask those important questions? And then how do they make a recommendation? So sales at a bare minimum is a transfer of enthusiasm. So we talk about that a lot with wholesalers and how they can get advisors to do more production. But it's the same thing for financial advisors. Is how do you get more recommendations accepted? What is that experience? What is that journey you're taking a client on when they come back for the recommendation? Are you using a flat screen? Are you using your computer? What are you showing a client? What's the journey to get them excited about taking the recommendation that you're laying out? And then, I think lastly, and most important for the advisor is, what's their follow-up? Mm-hmm. How do advisors create presence in their absence? How do advisors stay top of mind with their clients? Because I'm convinced that, clients don't leave advisor relationships over 100 basis points of performance, but they do leave advisor relationships over lack of communication.
Yep, absolutely.
And I think that, and one more thing on this, Rob, is that I think, what's great for advisors and what they should be encouraged about is that many of these that I just mentioned are skills that are instilled in them from their managers. So there's an awful lot of firm content around these concepts because these are skills that they're trying to improve for themselves, and it's a really easy transition to then share that with the advisors they're working with.
So here you are going through this gigantic process of strategic planning, building out 3-year growth models, 5-year growth models, all that good stuff. And in doing all of that, I know, because it's part of the process of a senior leader, that you got to be thinking about, what are some of the speed bumps we could hit? What's the one industry trend that concerns you the most today?
I think there's a lot of really great things that are happening for our industry. I'm really encouraged. But I do think that there's a lot of noise out there right now and has been for the last few years. A trend that's concerned me, at least over the last, call it 2 or 3 years, has really just been the outside influences on our industry regulatory policy. Mm-hmm. Those not in the industry driving the narrative of what we do and how we operate. We're such a a vital service that touches almost all Americans, and because of that, I really believe that we can be an easy target at times. Now, make no mistake, our industry needs to improve. Fees need to be evaluated. Product sets need to be evaluated. Putting the client's best interest first. There's absolutely no doubt that needs to happen. But most of the advisors I work with have always felt that they've done that. And I just think that there are some unintended consequences that come from the environment that we just have started to move through. So two of which I'll give you an example of, and they may not be popular with some, but you asked the question to me, so I'll give you the answer.
Sure.
I'm not sure everyone benefits from an advisory relationship with an FA. Some clients are better off with purchasing an A-share mutual fund or a commission-based annuity. Fee compression that's happening right now, may on the surface sound great for consumers, but I really believe that if our best and brightest start to leave the industry, or maybe more detrimental if innovation starts to slow or cease around product development, really only retail consumers are harmed by that. And I think our industry flat out just needs to do a better job of showcasing the value we provide. We need to tell our narrative. So kudos to some initiatives like the Alliance for Lifetime Income that's putting our narrative out there now today and talking directly to consumers about the value that we bring, because there's no doubt that our services are needed.
Yeah.
Robos can do asset allocation, but really only highly skilled and trained people can help manage clients' expectations and emotions, and that's what FAs do.
So you've touched on some of these things in your prior comments, but I want to make sure we've captured them correctly. What one industry trend is keeping you most excited and hopeful?
Just the sheer opportunity, Rob, that we have in front of us, the sheer opportunity that advisors have and wholesalers have and quality product providers have. There's more hardworking Americans today that need quality advice than ever before. There's no doubt about it. There's more Americans being asked to control all of their wealth themselves. The days of set it and forget it with a pension plan are almost gone. So, at CUNA Mutual, we specialize in retirement planning. This is the market that we put a stake in the ground, and we believe that that retirees need guarantees, and they're finding it harder and harder to get those guarantees. We've all heard 10,000 people a day with the baby boomers are retiring. That's going to continue for the next 18 years. And insurance and annuities are just so uniquely positioned to help those people because they need guarantees, but they don't have them. And insurance and annuities are the only type of financial product that can deliver on those promises, and it can't be duplicated or replicated. So I'm so encouraged just by how vastness the demographic of people that need our services, that need to have quality accumulation planning and need to have quality retirement planning. It's an unbelievable time in our history right now, and it's an unbelievable time to be a financial advisor, and it's an unbelievable time to be anyone in the industry that's supporting those types of practices.
So as you look back, you think about your last 17, 18 years in this business, what are three things that your today self would tell your newer to the industry self about how to succeed and thrive and get ahead?
It's such a great question. And, I'm going to first off start by saying my today self has to continue to remind my today self about these three items. So this is not something I've mastered yet.
It's a journey, right?
It's iterative. It's a journey for sure. First off, just be patient, but be very persistent. Mm-hmm. You got to be patient to know that the next job title or career move still may be years out, but you got to understand that you're always interviewing for the next role. But you got to be very persistent in your pursuit to develop the skills needed for the next step, or you're not going to get it.
Properly persistent too, right?
Properly persistent for sure. Tact plays into everything, but persistent nonetheless.
Yes.
And you got to make sure that you make connections with mentors. You got to put yourself out there, make plans, make your plans known. You got to read, be a study of the industry, because that's going to put you in the best spot to continue to grow. So you got to be patient, but you got to be persistent at the same time. The second thing is that you have to always be uncomfortable with your current responsibilities. If you're not, they're not big enough. You're not thinking big enough. Your manager's not thinking big enough for you. The only way that you can grow is that you have to challenge yourself. So
define uncomfortable. Tell me what uncomfortable means to you.
Uncomfortable just means that you're not on autopilot. It means that for me personally, I'm uncomfortable when I'm going through activities for the first time, when I haven't mastered something, when I haven't had time to put much mind space around it. So I think uncomfortable means different things for different people. But as soon as you get into a position where you feel like you're on autopilot, or just when you think that you know something, I think you need to take a step back, and that should worry you. And you should take a step back, and you should challenge it, and you should try to ask the question again.
Mm-hmm. What was the third one?
The third one is around the work we do. It's noble. What we do is very serious work, but I don't think we need to take ourselves so seriously. We need to enjoy this journey because it's a really good one. What we do helps people. This is the best profession in the world to be a part of, and I just feel like if I could tell my younger self to recognize that and enjoy every minute, I'd be in a much better spot. And this is the one that I need to continue to remind myself of, is that we have an unbelievable opportunity in front of us. We work in a tremendous industry. It's a noble practice. What we do touches more lives than most other professions, and we just need to enjoy every minute of it.
It's hard when you know the battle, right? When you're in the middle of a day-to-day grind, it's hard to remind yourself of that. Necessary, but hard.
Well, if it was easy, everyone would do it, right? If there wasn't a barrier of entry to it, everyone would do it. But that hard doesn't make it any less fulfilling, and I think that's what we need to take pause at sometimes, is just to reflect on what we've accomplished. Yeah,
true story. So, Chad, who is or was your greatest career influencer, and why?
I've been fortunate over my career. I've been fortunate to have some really great leaders, almost without exception. I've seen great lessons. I've learned great lessons, which can be gained by watching those leaders. My biggest takeaway has always been that if you help people, you're going to help yourself. And I think that this is so simple, and others have talked about this. This is not a new concept, but it's so powerful nonetheless. But it's just oftentimes forgotten by most. As you grow as a person, growing your career is not an individual sport. You have to realize that. Nothing's more important than a team, and you need to bring people along with you, just like your leaders and managers brought you along. It's just the way that it works. I think that you have to have great mentors outside the industry and outside the companies that you work for and work at. I've always tried to be inquisitive, ask a lot of questions, network, put myself out there, and I would suggest to anyone early in their career, make sure that you do that. But my biggest influencer started much earlier than my first paycheck. My parents had the biggest influence over my foundational skill set as a leader and as a person. They instilled my work ethic. They helped me know my motivation. They sent me down the path to determine what my passion was going to be. My father was a proud truck driver. My mom was an accountant. They taught me a great deal of humility. They taught me what a hard day's work feels like. And to be honest with you, they never accepted anything less than a hard day's work. So I guess I never found out what a half day's work felt like. And they just taught me the need to be financially literate, and it stuck with me. And their teachings, the support, frankly, watching some of the struggles that they went to is what launched me on my trajectory. That environment made me want to help others make better financial decisions, and that's what led me to my current career. I thank them for that.
Well, as somebody who's known you for a couple of years anyway, I'd say they did a pretty damn good job. So
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Chad Mueller. Chad Mueller directs annuity sales for CUNA Mutual Group. And Chad, thank you for taking time out to join me today.
I appreciate the time, Rob, as always.
Absolutely. Wholesalers, come back next time for another episode of Lessons from Leaders here on the new Wholesaler Masterminds radio show. For more information about Wholesaler Masterminds, visit us at wholesalermasterminds.com. Find the new Wholesaler Masterminds radio show at Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify.